All right. This is super odd for me to speak in a microphone, but welcome everybody. We're about to get started with today's presentation and today's game over here, which is called Find the Differences in this boards that we have over here. But first of all, thank you all for joining us. For those that are here, thank you for coming. For those that are virtual, thank you for being here too. Before we begin, I'm going to go through some of housekeeping items. If you need to use the restrooms, they're going to be outside in the lobby. We have some water and some candy. So if you need to stay awake during this time, doesn't offend me at all. For those that are joining us online, the way this webinar is set up, everybody's muted, but you can type in your questions in the Q&A session. We will respond all of your questions at the end of the presentation because we may answer some of your questions as we go through this. And my hope is to get through this in 30 minutes and then let you mingle and see the boards. For those that are not present here, these PDF files are going to be posted online by the end of the day tomorrow on the website, and I'm going to show you how to navigate those websites. All right, well, with all that, let's go ahead and get started. So this is what keeps me focused. Here's our agenda for tonight's meeting. We are going to begin with some introductions so you know who's involved in this project, largely you guys. We want a lot of your participation. Next, we will provide a brief program overview. We will go through the results of the initial survey. We will discuss the options of the boards that you're seeing here. And we will go and give you some very highlights of the design schedule, utility relocations, construction schedules, and then you will have some homework for the next steps. So it's not all me. All right, team introduction. My name is Ibaidi Duin. You can call me Wyberry, Ibaidi, hey you. I respond to everything. My family calls me Kathy. So they gave me that name, they don't use it. But anyways, and then with me here today, it's Aaron Castro. We are both managing this project. I work for the city of Shawnee. I have been with the city of Shawnee for about a year, and I have been doing municipal projects for the last 10 years, 8 years. I don't know, I lost count. Aaron has been doing engineering consultant services, providing engineering consultant services for municipalities for about 15 years. And together we want to manage this project with you and for you. So our goal is to lead a very successful community center transformative project along the corridor, along 51st Street from Quivira Road to Black Swan Drive. So we want to give you priority because you are the one that live, work, and drive that road. So what is the project? Let me introduce the project. This project is a street improvement project of a section of 51st Street from Quivira Drive to Black Swan Drive. The idea of this project is to do street improvements, storm drainage improvements, and also increase the connectivity of this area that felt that was a little left behind. You know, what you're seeing in this presentation right now, all those lines in blue are areas that currently have some sort of sidewalk or trails or bike lanes, but that section specifically continues to be very narrow and a very narrow section without any sidewalks and with ditches. So why are we talking about this today? And I think I have to step back a little bit and give you a little bit of the program overview. So the City of Shawnee has a street improvement program, And the idea of this program is to upgrade older residential areas. You know, at the time that this was built, it was adequate for the time, and it has worked. It's perfect, but now we know better, we do better, and we do bigger things. So voters approved a pavement sales tax of 3/8 of 1%, with a portion of the tax dedicated to upgrading and improving the streets like this one. The idea is to prioritize neighborhood based on the street width, traffic volume, residential units per line mile, distance from school, distance from parks, connection to curb streets, and connection to sidewalk streets. So the idea is, as we continue to improve this, we continue to improve more and more of these neighborhoods so we have better connectivity. All right. Citizen input results. Thank you for everybody that completed the survey. For those that didn't, don't worry, you'll have a second opportunity, and you'll leave with some homework out of here today. But what the initial survey told us was a little surprising for me, but surprising in a good way. So doesn't seem, we do have some drainage issues, but they're not major. Based on the results, 23% of people reported drainage issues completely related to intense storm events, which is expected based on the areas, based on the ditches. They reported that the majority of the water was ponding along those ditches. Now, some people reported some ponding water on their driveways and the backyards. We will try to see what we can accommodate with this project to make sure that everybody's drainage issues are taken into consideration with this project. 28% felt that the lack of bike lane was concerning, and it was very directly related to the speed of vehicles. And 37% of the people that responded, the survey was concerned with the speed of vehicles. And, hindsight is 2020. I think that if I would have given you guys options to choose several, that number perhaps would have been higher based on the comments that I read from many of you. But what we concluded with this survey is that regardless of the concerns, 68% of the people that responded would be supportive of installation of sidewalks and or bike lane or a combination of both. But basically the input of this project, of this survey told us, hey, we need this. We need these improvements. We need the connectivity. It's not necessarily very safe for kids that are going to school, waiting for the bus. And let's see what you have to tell us. So to tell a complete story, let me tell you of what you currently have. This is not printed in the boards, but basically today's street section, it's about 24 from back of, well, you don't have curb, pavement section, okay? 24 feet, and that's basically it. There are ditches, a lot of underground utilities. You can see that, let me see if I can work this pointer. Okay, no, I cannot. But that square thing with holes, that's an Evergy, what we call Evergy duct bank. It's a Evergy's facility for power. Then there's a round pipe underwater. That's water one. And then we have some other stuff, more water, more gas, more communications in there. And then the side things that you see going up, those are the poles that we can see. They're very evident. So that's what we can see above ground. And this typical section is basically from Black Swan to Halsey. Now, the difference in this typical section is that we do have quite of a wide right-of-way in there. It's a 60-foot right-of-way, but the right-of-way becomes a little bit narrower as we drive towards the east, towards Quivira. So at that, I can't read it. It's about 50 feet. So we lose about 10 feet of right of way and still have the same utilities, still have all the facilities. So just to all this story to tell you, it's very crowded. All right. So what are the options and what is the name of the game? Find the difference. We have developed multiple options for you. And I'm sure that even after this meeting, we could develop 100 more. There will be all feasible. You know, today's meeting or intent of the meeting is to show you 3 basic options that have sub options. So option 1 keeps the street width or the pavement width from back of curb to back of curb at 36 feet. We are saying that this is kind of like a minor residential collector with bike lanes. On this option, this is your kind of let's follow the same, let's follow what we have at the west of Black Swan. It's wider streets, you have sidewalk on both sides, you allowed bike lanes. Now, option 1B, the width of the street from back to curb remains the same. But in an attempt to lower the impacts to property owners, we said, what if we eliminate that green space and do the sidewalks a little bit wider, but directly back of curb? So this is like when you go to the eye doctor, option 1 or 2. 1 or 2. Again, same back of curb width. And then in here, I kind of put them together for visualization. And as you can see, the difference is that green parkway in between the sidewalk for this option. This option keeps the streets also wider. So just keep that in mind. One thing before I move forward, and I should have said this before, I'm sorry, I have the tendency to jump around everywhere. These are very conceptual, okay? We haven't done survey. This is an initial input meeting. We want to hear from you. You know, it's kind of, we've taken our time, but there may be some tweaks to the final product. Even if we make decisions, we may have to tweak things. And the idea is that we communicate through all this design process. So let me keep moving. Oh, I like to see the plan views. I look a lot of Google Maps. So anyways, I thought you would enjoy this. It's another view of seeing the same thing. And I'm coming over here so you can probably see my cursor. So what I'm trying to show you here in this picture is this yellow line over here kind of anticipates the need for temporary construction easements. So it's only an anticipation that we want to show kind of how close would we get into those yards with this option. The red line, which is right here, kind of hugging the blue sidewalk, that would be the additional right of way that we would have to acquire in this particular portion of the project to do those improvements. The blue lines are associated with the sidewalk, and then the space in between, it's that green space. This gives you a general feel of what the driveways look like in a project like this. You can see they have those kind of, I like to call them wings. So in option 2B, that changes. And I'm already cheating because I'm telling you the differences. So This yellow line gets a little bit closer or farther from the property, okay? Um, the sidewalk, it's right at the back of the curb. You can see the different feeling on how the driveways would kind of look like. Um, so that's for that. Oh, the white lanes over here, those are the bike lanes. So that's how continuing that section of 51st Street would look like for options 1A and 1B. Now, with option 2, we went a little bit crazy. We're like, okay, we're making progress with option 1. What else can we tweak? So in here, we changed it a little bit. We went 31 feet back of curb to back of curb, but we had 3 more options. We looked at this about, our thought was, if we're going to share the road with bicycles, if we're not going to give them a dedicated lane, can we come with an option that maybe satisfies everybody? So this is kind of what we looked in option 2. So one of option 2, it's, let's share the road. Let's make the road a little bit wider than it is today, but not as it is west of Black Swan. Let's have sidewalks on both sides with a little bit of parkway so you get that safer buffer from the cars. Or let's go ahead, maybe, and on the north side, do a share use path that can be used for people that walk, for bikers, however we want to use it. Or let's make the parkway smaller with sidewalks on both sides. Again, there's no right or wrong answer here. It really relates to how these options impact your properties and the feel of your neighborhood. How do you want to see your neighborhood change? I kind of went through the same over here to show you the differences. And I also drove myself to places like this. I took the Neiman path over there and biked it with my son. I went to Merriam, and I wish I could give you an answer, but I like them all. They're different, they fit those neighborhoods. So I encourage everybody to try to look for something similar and try it out so you can have the same feelings for options like this. So I'm going to come over here. Sorry, I'm going back and forth, but I kind of want to show on this option. So this yellow line right here, it's about the limits of construction or of the temporary easement for option 2A. You can see we estimated the tree removal is a complete estimate. Please don't take it to heart. Anything that we're talking in today's meetings are very estimate amounts. But for example, we anticipated that in option 2B, you can see how much closer it would get. And it would give us the need to remove an additional tree from this property. And then option 2C, it's a little bit narrower. So again, option 2B, 2A. Which one do you prefer? One or two? One or two? And then lastly, option 3. So option 3, it's a 27 back of curb to back of curb. It is what it's most similar to what you have today as far as width. But it would still have curbs. It will still have, get rid of the ditches. It will have sidewalks. So the driving feeling will be similar, but the neighborhood feeling would be a little bit different. Again, this is a share the road with cyclists, with some parkway over here. And then in option 3B, we get rid of that parkway. So we put the sidewalks to the back of curb. Some benefits that I can see on the Parkway, I'm not against or in favor of any of them. In talking to people on both neighborhoods, just because I did a lot of my own research for my purpose, some people like the fact that they only had to mow up to here, that they didn't have something in the middle to mow. So I thought that was interesting, and I shared that with you guys. And here are the options side by side, options 3A and 3B. And this is how it would look on that corner of Quivira and 51st. So 3A, we still get into several of the trees. And then on this one, we do as well, but we're closer. Now, Ibaidi, why are you so concerned about getting closer? Who cares? Let's have the green space. Several factors. One of them being utilities. Utilities relocations are going to play a big number on this. Um, so it's going to impact the cost. It's going to impact timeline for the project. So that's one reason. Number two reason is how can we impact properties? You know, it would require the wider we are, the more right-of-way takings we need. How does the neighborhood generally feel about that? And we want to know that from you. So make sure you tell us. But in summary, I put this table, well, Aaron put this table together where we walk you through the different options that we just talked about. So option one basically says we're going to have 36 feet back to back. That's how wide the street is going to be and feel. And we are going to have dedicated bike lanes and sidewalk with this option. Now, for option one, we have sub options 1A and 1B, and they basically summarized in do we want green space in between the sidewalk and the street or no? You can see the prices, the estimated prices for both of the options, above 4.5 million. The price includes design, right-of-way takings, acquisitions, utility relocations, obviously material cost. All of that is taken into consideration as well as a contingency for this project, just based with the uncertainty of being a concept design. Option two, it's the middle spot where we're not going as big, we're not going as wide, but we're going wider. And then with that, we have no dedicated bike lanes, but we share the road with cyclists. And within those options, we have three sub options. One, it's just a sidewalk with a green space. Option B would be let's have a trail or a share path. And then option C, it's let's do the sidewalks, but maybe with a reduced green space. And then option three follows of the nature of what you have there today, a little bit wider, not that much wider, with sidewalks, with green space or no green space. So the cost definitely goes down as we move down these options. The feeling of the neighborhood goes from having wider streets to more narrow streets. Both have benefits, both have not benefits, cons. And they are outlined, by the way, they are outlined and summarized in in these boards, but I will also make my own summary here. The narrower we get, the less takings we need and the less utility relocations we have to do. The faster the project moves forward, the less expensive it is. The other ones are also possible, but they require more takings, they would likely result in more time, be more time consuming, and more impactful for all of you. So, um, so what is the design schedule, Ibaidi? You've talked a lot, very fast, and what do you need from us? Well, I have put together a second survey. You can ask us questions when you're here. For those at home, I will make sure to leave this presentation on for a while and switch the options like every minute or so, so you have some time to digest them, and they will be published tomorrow on our website. But for those here, you can mingle, you can take a look at the boards, you can follow up with a survey. So on your way out, you can take a little QR code that will take you to a survey, or you can fill it out by hand, whatever you prefer. You don't have to do it today. You have until August 13th too. So I encourage you to go outside, to walk, bike, see how you would feel in these instances. And then let me know what your preferred options are by August 13th. After we gather all that input, we're going to share this information to our city council and get some direction from them on how to move the project forward. At that point, we will begin our preliminary design with survey information. So that's going to be better to move these options or the desired option forward. And then after we do all that, we're going to meet with you again. So the whole idea is to have you can be as involved or as hands-off in this project as you want. I think the more involved we are at the beginning of the project, the better product we give to our residents. Then final design, we anticipate to finish that by the end of March, maybe beginning of April. And then in conjunction to that, we will begin the process of easement acquisition. Again, we will walk you through all that. That would be your permission to let us be in the property to do the work. Now, I mentioned this, I touched on this before, but I want to make sure I stress the importance of utilities. Each option is going to have utility challenges, and the project isn't only the project. The project does require a lot of utility relocations, regardless of the option. And I know it's going to feel that construction begins before construction begins. And it's a process. We will walk you through that as much as we can. And there will be all utilities will have to relocate: gas, water, power, sanitary, AT&T, Spectrum, you name it, all of them, Google. So then we will meet again. Wow, it's and then again. So we'll meet a third time and a fourth time. And then maybe we can meet again to celebrate too. I don't know. I think I need to get council approval for that. But there's a period of utility relocations, and I have shown that on this anticipated schedule. And construction, this is again very estimated. It would all depend. In the best case scenario, we'll move forward this project June of next year and finish it in December of 2026. So what are the next steps? Here's a survey. I'm going to click on that. Yes, I trust that site. All right, so it's a 3-question survey, and kind of show you what it looks like. We want your name and address. And the reason why we want your address is we want to give priority to the people that actually live on that corridor and that would be directly impacted. Everybody's input will be taken into account, but those that actually live in the corridor will be given a higher weight when we present this to the council member. And it has a picture of these options, and then you'll get to move your preferred option. So the ones at the top are the ones that you prefer, and then you submit. That's all you need to do for that. And then let me see, I kind of lost my presentation. I'm sorry. There we go. If you're looking for more information, there are two places that you can go. You can go to our construction website and then just type 51st Street right there, click on it. There's another website over there. You can just copy and paste that link. And well, there seems to be an issue. There weren't an issue earlier. I probably broke it when I tried to put the PDFs, but generally that works. And in there, you can also find more information about the project. Let me see if I click directly on it, if it takes me. Yes. So sorry, the one, probably the link that I have on our website, it's not working. But on this page, you have information about the project, schedule, input. The public meetings are recorded and will be put in there. The YouTube link will be put in there. So if you ever miss one of the 3 remaining public meetings, you will have access to them. The surveys will be here. All the PDF files of the presentations will be here. So my information, it's there everywhere. So call me if you have any questions, if you need help accessing any of this information, please make sure to contact myself or Aaron. We'll be glad to walk you through any of the questions you have. If we don't have the answers, we'll get back to you. So now it is your time. It's your turn. Can I answer any questions for those that are here first? Yes. Oh, that's a great question. So for those at home, the question was, which option will put the utilities underground? Unfortunately, none of them. Those are considered private improvements, and they're outside of the scope of this project. Thank you. Yes?
Is the drainage for each option differ at all, or would the drainage plan be the same between all the projects?
So the question was, is the drainage the same throughout all the options, or will it change? As of now, it's the same throughout. We would need to acquire additional information to fine tune the drainage. Thank you. Yes.
Which of these options matches from Black Swan West?
Okay, so the question was, which of these options matches from Black Swan West? That would be option 1A. And I'm about to put it here. It would be this one, 1A. Now I feel that I'm in bingo, where all these games. Absolutely. So the question was if I can put 1A up the area. So here we are. Yes.
This is just a question with no opinion. Have you considered putting where the one sidewalk is narrower and the one sidewalk is broader?
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider putting the broader sidewalk on the other side of the street?
So the question was, would we consider putting the broader or the trail on the south side versus the north side? And we wouldn't be opposed to, as of right now, I think, I'm so sorry, the north side, it's more favorable just because the utilities of Evergy along the northern portion are less convoluted. So if you look, I'm going to change that area real quick. I think in one of the introduction. So this is what the south portion looks like with utility. And that would be, we're trying to avoid that relocation. But that's a great question. We will consider those options as far as they become feasible. Yes, the comment was, it looks like we would use fewer trees, but that with these improvements, but if it ends up requiring Evergy to relocate, then we may lose more trees or get closer to people's houses. Yes. Oops, I'll come next. Okay.
Are the power lines gonna be moved?
Are the power poles going to be moved? Each option differs on the number of poles that would be needed to remove. The narrower the street is, and the closer the sidewalk is to that street, the least we will need to relocate poles. The wider it is, the extent of the relocations would be more. Thank you.
Is there any lighting provided in any way?
Oh, great question. Thank you. The question was, is there any lighting upgrades provided with this? Yes, they are. They're hard to see on this sketches, but let me show you. It would be kind of like this. Right here, it's one shown. But yes, lighting is part of these upgrades or are part of this upgrade.
Back to the statement about the wider trail being on the north side, the perk's on the south side. So that might make more sense in that.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. So the comment was regarding the trail being on the south side. It would make more sense since the park is on the south side. There's another, yes, yes. And I think I have that. So yes, it appears that we have parks and school. Here we go. So we have the elementary school here and the park here. The park. Okay. Perfect. I don't believe so. Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yes.
Question, if we went with the, I actually have two questions, actually.
Of course.
That's my first one. If we went with just a wider sidewalk on one side and maybe a bike lane, that an option two as well, instead of having to have sidewalks on both sides, could we just go with a wider bike slash sidewalk on one side and bike lane itself
Mhm.
one?
So the question was, would we be able to combine some of these options with perhaps the sidewalk being on one side and bike lane on the other, instead of having sidewalk on both ends? I think we looked into it and we could look into it further. The challenge becomes on where you have the crossings for the people that are biking and even those that are walking. Now, walking tends to be a little bit more intuitive because several neighborhoods only have sidewalks on one side. It's with the bike lanes that becomes a little bit more challenging. We even looked into having those two-way bike lanes. It just didn't feel that this neighborhood was the right approach for that. You would still need to go wider. When we looked at it, it didn't feel that it would fit this neighborhood in particular. Now, would we be willing to look at sidewalks only at one side? I think that that could potentially be an option depending on utilities. we're too early to see that, but we will keep you informed. Did that answer your first question? You had two. Okay, what's the second?
My second question is, I live off of Monrovia, 51st, and just to the west of me is the big dip before it goes back up
Mhm.
Black Swan. So that area in that area, people come at a high rate of speed and they can't see you pull out on there. So there going to be an elevation change with the drainage going in there to kind of help reduce that, or?
You're talking about right there at the west end where the tie-in.
Yeah,
And whether or not-
yep, just a little bit west, yep,
Whether or not to shave off the hill
yep.
and provide improved sight distance.
Right.
And I will give you this because they can't hear us. So the question is, will we do vertical changes to improve visibility at certain intersections?
Right. And I can't give it a definitive on this because we'll have to go back and discuss a potential option there with the city. But right there is Evergy's facility, right there on the corner. It's right at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
So currently the project and the profile, we are tying in right there at Black Swan, which is basically at the crest of the hill. And then as you go down, we'll be using a 30-mile-an-hour design speed for everything from Black Swan to Quivira Road, which will to some degree kind of smooth out at least the sag that comes just to the east of Black Swan. And then when you come back up over the hill and back down, there's an open question here, which is, should we, and this would be a question I'll have to kind of maybe push back to the city, should we look at extending the improvements further west, and what impacts would be necessary in order to shave off that large hill right there I'll just warn you. I guess it's not a warning, it's just a statement of fact. It will have large impacts to Evergy and their facilities, and if they're private facilities, it will come at a cost to the city to make the improvements. And at least currently, the project budget doesn't account for those types of improvements.
I live at the northwest corner of 51st and Monrovia, and I refer to what Doug just said. Cars coming from the headed west. When they go by Holiday, it goes down. It's not slight, but if you got a driveway west of Monrovia, you don't see the cars until they come over the top.
From the east.
One of the primary thoughts is, we've had one fatality and 6 accidents since I've lived there in front of my driveway, and they've all been caused by obscured traffic.
Yeah.
And if they're not gonna straighten that, take that little hump off, then they're going to do the project, because people are getting killed there.
Understood. I think I want to make sure we're talking about the same location. You're talking about the crest that is to the east of Monrovia.
Sorry about
Right
the
at
east,
Monrovia.
Okay, that is part of the project.
You come from the
Yes, yeah,
east, you go down in a little dip, and you can see the top of it.
yeah,
But most cars, you don't see them until they start up, within 100 feet of that. And at 35 miles an hour, you take everybody comes to my house is told that they gotta drive straight out. They can't back up.
right,
Because it's too dangerous.
sure. So,
Like I said, there's the one fatality and plus 6 additional accidents. A couple of them should have been fatalities.
yeah.
Because of that road and that dip.
Well, I hope I can put your mind at ease real quick, because that crest you're discussing is part of the project, and part of the project will evaluate sight distance onto that section. The crest I was discussing previously is further to the west of you, over near the Evergy facility. Sure. And yeah, we can't go back in time and figure out all the decisions that were made during that point. But to answer your specific question about the one I think maybe both of you were referring to, and maybe I was the one that got off track.
West side of Black Swan.
It's the east side. That one is part of the project, and we'll be looking at site control, site distance issues, stopping distance, all of that as part of the project.
Yes.
Have any of the engineering contracts been awarded yet?
The question was,
I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. The question was, has any of the engineering contracts been awarded yet? Yes. The answer is yes. BG Consulting, Aaron, it's with BG Consulting. It's helping us design this project. We are in the design phase.
In the design phase only.
Design phase only, concept design. So very, very early.
Second question,
Absolutely.
right now, there are 3 unofficial stormwater outfalls. No curb. Number of outfalls there will be on the north side.
So the question was, currently there are 3 outfalls. When we do the stormwater improvements, have we looked at how many outfalls there will be?
So as you mentioned, we're still pretty early in the project. The intent always with projects like these is to the best of our ability and to the project's ability is to match and not alter drainage patterns. So if there are drainage outfall locations, we're going to do the intent of the project is keep water where it goes today to keep it going in the same way. What will change with this project is instead of there being surface drainage with everything in ditches, we will have, just like you would see on most of the improved roads around town, you go from having open ditches. Instead, when you come in with curb and gutter, we'll install storm sewer structures with pipes that are underground and basically enclose all of that stormwater underground instead of having it up at the surface. But the intent of the project, just to circle back, is to match existing conditions and take water where it goes today to the same outfall it went before.
Can I continue along that vein, please?
Sure.
So right now, with no curb in it and no formal outfall. Outfalls that are there now have been there for 50 or 60 years. They're basically corrugated pipes that just happen to be ravines that existed prior to construction of the Weir Road as it existed prior to being renamed 51st. Okay. When you add curbs, and all of a sudden the water redistribution, instead of seeping into the ground as it falls off the road now, becomes super concentrated. That's where I'm heading with this. Last question. There are, I believe, 15 septic tanks. That watershed on the north side of the road, beginning of Black Swan. Not the first 2 or 3. They are on the city on the section. County water or as you head east, houses have septic tanks. As you go around the corner, Halsey, Monrovia. There are other houses that have septic tanks on Halsey. Has anybody given any thought to what happened to those septic tanks? Will they stay in the watershed, or possible they would are to connect to?
Oh, to connect to city sewer?
Right, because as you add the outfall, you
So-
find that they fall right in line with septic tanks that are pre-existing. I believe that will be a problem.
I just want to make sure I'm summarizing what I think I'm hearing your concern is. I believe your concern is at the outfall locations where the water from this project daylights into a ditch and runs downstream. In that downstream area, there are septic tanks and systems. And your question or your concern, I guess, is that the impacts from the project, there will be a slight increase in runoff due to the increase in impervious area. Your concern is basically those downstream septic tanks and the impact that the project might have on those. Okay, so are you experiencing, do you guys have, I mean, we can talk about it in private if you want. Okay, I'd like to talk to you about that because I would like to hear if there's.
Any of the outfalls go south or will 100% go north?
Well, there's an outfall to the east from the crest at, I believe, Halsey. The majority of that water goes to the east to Quivira. Yep. And then basically in the current sag right there before you come back up the hill to Evergy, all that water there will still go to the north where it does today. Yeah. So we can talk a little bit more about it. I'll just tell you the current scope of the project is not to go beyond the outfall of the system and then evaluate, just chase all the impacts downstream. But I would like to talk to you about what you're seeing and those impacts that there might be. Sure.
Mhm.
Can you please clarify
Yeah.
what an outfall is for those of us, like what it looks like? I think I know what you're talking about, but it'd be nice to know if I'm driving by or walking by or biking by, oh, that's what they're talking
Absolutely. It's a pipe that looks like this, like a hugging pipe. Sometimes it's just a pipe, daylighting, discharging.
And I'll just, well, sometimes when we use that language, we're discussing where does water end up leaving the bounds of what we're calling the project. So in another case, on the east end of the project at Quivira, there's already stormwater pipes that are underground, and this project will be tying our new storm sewer into that storm sewer. So sometimes we'll call that an outfall from the project, even though it's not visible to you when you're driving around.
We're at 12315, just up the south side, and since he was talking about septic, I brought that up in my initial email response. We got septic, and the storm that we had just a couple weeks ago, couldn't flush it out. On the backside of us, we have about 5 homes that, ending from the center line of their house, we get all their shut off from their properties as well, and that whole area floods. That's where my septic is. Also, level of the road is that other than the things, or just a big giant.
Sure. Nobody wants that.
Right.
So in general, when we're working on projects like this, can you maybe show one of the typical sections? I just want to show you when we come through and there's a new project, it's the city's responsibility to capture all of their stormwater that falls within the proposed improvements. So everything, and it might not look that way because of the little green piece between there, but everything is designed such that any water that would fall within the left and right extents of this project would fall and drain towards the curb and gutter, and then go in curb and gutter until it gets to an inlet, and then inlet into a pipe, and then out. So where the concerns start to become a problem, or not a problem, but where it becomes our job to kind of design around is what happens from the edge of the property then onto other people's yards. And are we trapping water? Are we causing an issue where water that used to drain to a ditch now can't get to that ditch? That's part of every design process for a project like this, is to look at all those conditions and make sure that we're not in a condition where water used to escape a property and then now can't escape that property and is just stuck on yours. So part of what controls that is then we may have to have the street may need to go a little lower than where we ideally wanted it in order to make sure that water gets onto the city right away and then out. Sometimes we have to add drainage structures out there to pick up that water so that we can get it out if we can't take the road low enough. So I wanted to try to get ahead of that, and I appreciate you saying it. It is part of the process, and will be part of the process as we move forward of looking at every single condition where we may be trapping water and making sure we have a way for that water to get out. Mm-hmm. So you might have to go lower. Right. And I'll just note, I know there's a couple of folks that have driveways out there that are pretty close to the existing road. Another part of this job, make sure we're not putting the road in a way and then giving you a new driveway that used to flow from your house out toward the street, and then we just change it and push all the water into your driveway. So we check all that stuff. That's part of the process.
I think what he's talking about is West Main. The road comes down from the east and the west, and there's a draw goes through there, and the water goes down the Black Swan Lake. And so are you gonna put a culvert there? Are you gonna put a bridge?
It won't be a bridge. It'll be more than likely, it'll be a new outfall. That's where a portion of the storm sewer will daylight out into the existing ditch and then out onto Black Swan.
Well, I'm talking about the septic tanks. I explored that a number of years ago with the sewer district. And they they told me at that time that the reason we're on septic is because it was so expensive to move septic to wastewater was so expensive that it was beyond being appropriate. The benefits were far less than what we got now. The benefits would not justify the added expense. And he was talking back then, most houses are gonna be anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 for a hook up to the storm.
To the sewer, just to the sanitary sewer. Is your question, would that change with this project?
I don't think it would. Most of the sewer septics I know of on the north side of the road drain north.
Correct. Yeah. That's why I was asking. I was trying to see if there was a question about whether or not that is outside of the scope of this project, on whether or not folks that are currently on septic would somehow get switched to the city system.
Have a pumping station to lift the wastewater up high enough to put it down
Right.
into the wastewater.
Right.
Something should have been addressed probably when they put it in, but my house has been there since 1948, and I've been there since 1975. I don't know of anybody that's had any particular that I know of in the neighborhood that's had septic problem.
I think we got a question, Mike. Oh, can I read the one that we got on here? Okay. Question on the Zoom. For the road going into Black Swan Drive, what will happen to the entrance signs? I also saw on the survey that there will be a sidewalk going into the neighborhood of Black Swan. It seems very invasive to the two corner properties. Do you want me to take a stab at answering that? And I'm sure I know there's folks in here that are representing Black Swan. So again, I just want to reiterate where we're at in the project. Currently at concept level survey, I think you guys might have seen there's actually a survey crew that's starting to get mobilized and get out on site and starting to pick up locations. At Black Swan, there's the entrance signs there at the neighborhood. If the project were to impact those, assuming those signs are on private property, it would be the responsibility of the project to cure that in some way, to make it right with the owners of that sign, put the sign back, reconstruct it, or give some money to help cure that. Right now, we do not know the impacts of the property to those signs. We're not far enough yet. We don't know vertical elevations, exact horizontal locations of all those things. So to answer the question about will those signs be impacted, that's yet to be determined. But I'll just caveat that with, if they were, the project, what it would not be is we impact those signs and sorry, go fix your own signs. No one's doing that. It's going to be, okay, we're going to have conversations with Black Swan, discuss whether or not these impacts would impact those, and then figure out what are the alternatives to either avoid it or put something back. And then regarding sidewalk into Black Swan, I don't know that we mentioned or showed that anywhere of a sidewalk entering Black Swan.
One of the renderings shows the dotted red line coming to property.
Oh,
that is pretty aggressive.
So the dotted red line was intended to be, that was like here's the potential location of where the road and impacts could be. Right. And it sometimes starts that way. And this, I'll just tell you, all these, whichever option we choose, things are going to change. I want to make sure when you look at these signs a little bit later, if you see a yellow line or red line or a sidewalk location, and you leave here and then don't ever talk or come to another public meeting, and then when the project gets under construction in a couple of years, it will likely be a little bit different. I'll just say it will be different because we don't have enough information today to know exactly where things are going to be. We have to go through all the processes that I've kind of alluded to about checking people's drives and getting all our survey information and doing all our analysis and calculations and things to actually make those decisions. So this is our best attempt with the information we have now to try to communicate to you where we think and where we're pretty sure there's going to be impacts and changes. And so we want to get headed down that way. So real quick,
What is the cost of biplanes
to the project.
to the project and the pipe sidewalk? And I say this because I've lived in my neighborhood for 50 years. And I watched those beautiful sidewalks put down on 55th Street that nobody walks on. I watched the bicycle lanes down on 55th that nobody rides a bike on.
Sure.
I just wonder, is it cost effective? Now, I'm all for wide. I've been wanting that road widened since I moved there. But do we need a 5-foot lane, or will the 3-foot lane be enough for a bicycle?
Yeah, 4-foot standard minimum. We wouldn't go any smaller than 4.
We need a 5-foot sidewalk. That's for downtown metropolitan Kansas City, Missouri. You don't see people walking up and down the river on the sidewalks.
Sure. What I guess
5-foot wide sidewalk.
the 5 foot's the city standard minimum. It's what's been approved for the city. I think you've got. Can I answer your question? You'd asked. Sure. Can I answer your question? Your initial question was, what are the costs of the bike lanes or the widened sidewalks? We don't have it down to exact, it's not necessarily a bike lane costs this much, but you can get a feel for what that cost difference would be by looking at the table there and kind of seeing option 1 has the bike lanes and 5-foot walks. And then if you get down to the far right, option 3, there's no bike lanes on that one, reduced pavement width, and obviously it's going to be less money. So yeah, we got another question over here real quick. I think Byron wants to take it.
I would also like to add that when we do improvements of something, we try to do a comprehensive improvement. So the street improvements itself are needed for the widening the street. So this is the opportunity to enhance other aspects of the neighborhood. And when you compare the cost of the sidewalk to the general project, I don't know, off the top of my head, I really don't. But they're minimal in comparison to the extent of the project. So yes.
I don't really have a question. I'm not for the sidewalk or the bike lane. I live right there at 51st and Halsey. My 300 and something yard, but I think we've got the biggest yard across there that it's going to affect. Even if we had sidewalks or bike lanes, my grandkids are not going out on that street until the traffic has come to a reasonable speed. It's unbelievable. I sit out there on my front porch every other day. It's ridiculous how fast those cars come from 51st and Quivira, front of our house. It's like a drag race out there now.
This wasn't a question, I'm sorry, this is for the people online. It was a comment about that the speed is out of control regardless of the sidewalk. It could feel unsafe, even if there are sidewalks. And yes.
So, writing on that, we're talking about a quality of life issue with sidewalk. And I'm wondering if there will be studies, or if we looked at studies on how safe people feel when there is a parking, or when the sidewalk is right up against the street. And I believe it will be that people are much more comfortable walking when they're in the park.
You're correct. So the comment was, how do people feel generally safer? Is it with a green space or without a green space? Definitely the buffer, it makes people feel safer. That's what many cities have a standard green space parkway. Did that end? Okay. Yes.
With these new sidewalks, is the property owner responsible for snow removal?
The question is, with the new sidewalks, is the property owner responsible for the snow removal? Yes. Does the city go out and check who shovels snow? No. We wish we had the staff to do all those things, but no, we don't. Typically, those only become a problem when somebody has reported something, or if it's like an ice buildup in the sidewalk. I would also recommend, if and when that happens, reaching out to our public work maintenance, because a lot of time the city does help in attending those issues.
Because
Yes.
You can see, you don't have that diagram left. You get a snow plow going, nothing it on there, you're gonna have it pretty hot.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're over 300 foot. That's a football lane.
Yeah. The comment was the amount of snow accumulated on those areas. Yes.
Does
Yes.
the city remove snow from shared use paths?
Does the city remove snow from shared use path? I think the answer is no. Jason, do we do?
Shared use trail, a Marks and I go over here.
Perfect. I am. I will revise my answer then. Our Parks and Rec does remove snow from shared path. Thank you. A shared path is a trail. Thank you for the question. 10, an asphalt, concrete trail, so wider sidewalk, typically 10 feet.
Champagne on this project, or a champagne budget for what the city can afford in beer diet. You're talking $1.5 million between 1A and 2C, or 3. Yeah. That's a lot of money. And we paying it.
The comment was that the options were costly and that taxpayers pay for it.
By the direction, need a 5-foot sidewalk when a 3-foot sidewalk is sufficient. Need a 5-foot bike lane when a 4-foot or a 3.5-foot would be adequate. Do we need a 13-foot, 13.5-foot lane? And everybody's used to driving on it. I grew up with an 8-foot lane was considered a lot. And then from the observations on my street, traffic slows down where it's narrower. You go out where they widen the road, where to drive. And it's nice and wide. You can almost drive almost 4 cars abreast on that 2-lane road. But it's not a road that's being used. And all it does is it makes people see that clear open road and they push down on the gas. When they get to one house, they're running 45 or 50 miles an hour.
So the comment is that the wider the street, the faster vehicles tend to travel. Is it necessary to spend this money? For that comment, even though it's not a question, it's a comment, I will invite you to complete the survey and pick your most preferable options. That's what we're looking for. If the neighborhood prefers narrower street, we will present that to the council. So this is an opportunity, and it's a beautiful opportunity that the city of Shawnee is giving residents to go ahead and voice their preference for these options. Yes.
What options are there for a street like this to help reduce speed? Besides just a sign. I mean, I know I'm not a favor of bumps and curbs, the speed bumps and stuff, but surely, I mean, there's other options, right, that can be considered or used maybe in this project?
It's a great question. So what options do we have to reduce or to help cars be aware of how much they're speeding? I think that for a project like this, it's going to be very challenging. Driving habits are very difficult to change. I think that when we are having these meetings, these neighborhood meetings, it's a great opportunity to introspect of what we do, because the majority of time it's us that are driving those streets. As far as what physical elements we can incorporate, right now, I don't think the scope of this project will incorporate any, but I will let you add if you have any other insight.
Sure, we can't solve that problem as easily as one might hope. There are things that do tend to, I'm sure you've heard of traffic calming efforts, and maybe not. There are nationwide efforts to reduce pedestrian fatalities, traffic vehicle incidents through the means of traffic calming. Some of the ways you do that are, it gets a little odd when you're in an area like this, but narrowing the roadway sometimes can have that impact. Reducing gentleman noticed or mentioned earlier, like when pavement's very wide, it is easier to drive quicker. Narrowing the roadway can have an impact on driver speeds. Whether or not how far you can see ahead of you over curves affects driver speed, but it also affects, often things are working against one another. When you can't see very far ahead of you, driver speeds tend to slow down. That same case is a problem for people trying to enter and exit the roadway, because now they can't see vehicles coming over the roadway. So I wish I had a better answer for you. I wish I could solve this problem for you, because I would solve it for everybody and make a lot of money probably, but.
I guess my question leads to this is what I was going to see is, she mentions earlier, I mentioned about the one sidewalk, if we had a wider bike sidewalk lane, and she was concerned about crosswalks. So I'm wondering if we have all of a sudden a bunch of painted crosswalks along that area and along major corridors of like Monrovia, Halsey, all that kind of stuff. Would that entice drivers to slow down because they're kind of predicting anticipating somebody coming across?
I'll speak generally, so generally, like, this is not for this project, but if we were looking at a location where there's pedestrians that need to cross a road, I mean, there's all sorts of interventions you could do to try to reduce and bring awareness to that crossing, adding median islands, adding overhead flashing signs, adding many flashing signs on the side. There's a lot of interventions you can do to try to reduce traffic speeds. One of the things Ibari was mentioned earlier is if you take west of the project, there's a bike lane on the north and the south. If you're on the south, you're riding your bike east. If you're on the north, you're driving your bike west. To try to all of a sudden reduce that down for this short section of road and put bikes on one side, now you're introducing an area where you need bikes to cross. If you're taking two sidewalks down to one, and we're already in an area where vehicles are traveling at a high rate. So I'm not actually saying anything here other than these are many of the challenges that we look at as part of the design process. And while the reason we're asking for public input is these are the concerns we want to know. What are folks in this area? What do they care about? In other areas, we could be talking about a similar project and people want a faster road. They don't want, they're for some reason maybe their properties don't front the road, and most of the traveling public wants to move through that road quickly. So hearing this feedback is important. Knowing the concerns, the sight distance issues, the speed issues, the potential issues with drainage and things like that. This is all helpful information for us. So first of all, thank you. But we do have some other questions. I think he's had a hand up for a few minutes.
First of all, I want to say you're both doing a great job, and I appreciate the opportunity to do this. I'm not buttering you up, but no, it's honestly, it's really great. Are you looking at data from like Strava or Garmin that shows bikers and walkers and how much they're actually using that area? That gentleman said he never sees anybody,
Sure.
But I see the heat maps, and there's a lot of people that use the full length of 51st, not just the bike lanes. And I know a lot of runners also use that as well. So is there other data that's being used to capture things that aren't just cars?
I appreciate that feedback. Currently, we are not, I don't want to lean on this. We're not scoped to provide an analysis of pedestrian usage and bike usage. We do know that this is identified as part of the City of Shawnee comprehensive plan. This section of 51st is identified as a bike route. So that was established before this project ever came about. So it's part of the project to accommodate bikes. The question then is, how do you accommodate them? And what do folks in the neighborhood want to see? I'll just offer this. This section of 51st is part of the larger portion that was done years ago. So anything we do here, I think some people like the idea of just let's keep what we had to the west and just take it all the way through. And then probably everybody that lives along there is like, let's pause real quick and talk about this, you know? So obviously there's differing opinions. And so all that to say, we have a responsibility as designers to weigh those opinions and try to come up with what is the best solution for the community. So I appreciate that feedback. And Barry, I don't know, we're kind of pushing time. I don't know if you wanted to let people mill around, if we want to keep going on questions. I'm sticking around. I know I've got others with me that are sticking around.
I'm sticking around too. Do we have any more online questions?
Would you be putting, down here? The question on there's only one more. Would you be putting partial sidewalks in the neighborhood entrances that are in between Quivira and Black Swan, or would this only be for 51st Street? I think I understand that question to ask, are we doing any accommodations for sidewalks into the adjoining neighborhoods? Currently, there's not a, I'll defer to you after this, but currently there's not a plan to extend any sidewalks into and along Monrovia or Halsey or Long Drive or Black Swan. The current proposal is only to have sidewalks along 51st. Oftentimes with projects like this, we might do a little stub out in anticipation of potential future sidewalk into those neighborhoods. But right now, I'm not aware of any planned improvements within those neighborhoods to add those sidewalks. So more than likely, this project will not include sidewalks into those neighborhoods.
All right. One more question.
Some of us got trees along there that are going to be affected. What is the planning for trees? Is there compensation for those trees? They replaced? Do we have any feedback on? Like I got a couple big oak trees that I don't want to see go. They're overnight.
Absolutely. So the question is about the removal of trees, tree removals. So we do our best to try to save as many trees as we can. We can't always save them. The city has a procedure of replacing them, and we work with one-on-one with the residents for them to pick a tree. However, typically they're small trees. They're 2-inch caliper trees, and then you get to pick the location of the tree. The city maintains them for a period of 2 years, and then we turn it over to the residents for maintenance. Perfect. One suggestion is to talk about the difference between a tree in a right-of-way and a tree on a private. So trees that are within the existing right-of-way, they are city trees. Now, it is our practice, it is the cities of Shawnee's practice to let the residents pick another tree in exchange to that. But technically, those are city trees. Private trees and everything, every damage in the properties, we will negotiate with property owners one-on-one. So we will get to know each other a lot.
My question's easy and is along those lines. Would you be willing to meet with us on site for one of the public meetings? Because Black Swan could probably help make that a space if we talk about doing it as a group to be able to point at what we're talking about instead of talking about it.
Absolutely. So the question is, would we be willing to do an on-site public meeting? The answer is, I will be more than happy to. I have hosted on-site public meetings before. Let's just not do it when it's 100 degrees outside. I think I know there are people with more questions, but at this time, we're going to cut them off and we're going to have them on a one-on-one. Okay, no, I don't do this to me. Okay, let's take it.
So right away is the easements as they stand now. Now that it's taking on more of our property, where are those lines going to be set?
The question is, where would the right-of-way be? Each option has different right-of-way needs. So in the options, you will see them marked with a red line. You would also see that the existing right-of-way, it's marked. So I know this is a little, let me see if I can zoom in here. So the existing right-of-way is shown with this symbols. Okay, and then if we were to go to another page, maybe, and so let's see, for example, zoom here. This option doesn't require additional right-of-way on the north side, but it requires additional right-of-way along the south side. So those would be shown on red. It does change based on the options, and I will echo what Aaron said earlier too. This may change. Right now, this is our best estimate with the information we have. We feel we have a certain degree of confidence that those are about the lines, but they may change. And each of these options have different needs for right-of-way. And on the bottom of these boards, you will see, like, for example, this one. It says the pros of this option, which is option 3A, it only requires approximately 5 right-of-way takings. So we have outlined that number. Now, since I let him have another question, I would also let you ask another question.
I've heard a lot of comments about safety and speed.
Mhm,
If this project hypothetical
mhm.
matches west all the way through, that's an area for speed, okay? What would it take with the city to reduce the speed limit? Was it 30 or 35 there now on 51st? Get it down to 25? What would it take?
The question is, what would it take the city to reduce the speed to 25, possibly, if we do this project? I will have to get back with you. I don't have an answer for that. Do you?
I think it would be a question for the city.
Jason, do you have an answer for that? And just so everybody know, I'm going to introduce him. He's my supervisor. So if, do you want to take the microphone?
So all of our speeds are based on the road classifications. Okay. All of our speeds in town, they're based on the type of road it is. In order to change the speed limit, we would have to go through PD and council. There'd have to be enough concern or not complaints, but we can't just come out and say we're dropping down to 25 mile an hour. It would have to go through different chains of command. And at the end of the day, the governing body would be the ones that would say, we need to reduce the speed. And then how we monitor it, like Myri said earlier, driving habits are driving habits. We don't have PD to park out here every day and write tickets as much as they like. So even if we dropped it to 25 posted, it's still not going to help with people speeding on the streets. But to answer your question, if we were to do that, it would have to come through direction through the governing body.
What about one of those signs though that tells you the speed you should actually always travel?
That's something we can.
It might turn into a game. I actually am going 70.
Well, that's something we could definitely look at. I don't think that helps. Once again, driving habits. People don't, if they're not enforced, it becomes white noise at some point then.
But sir, to your point, 51st Street has 2 speed limits, 135 if you're going west past the electrical substation, and then it's 30 Black Swan to Quivira. You've got 2 different speed limits.
Okay.
So that portion that you all are talking about here, it is all 30 miles an hour.
Anybody know that?
What?
Anybody know that?
I do, apparently, at least one. I can be the honor student in summer school. Just saying. But I travel it all the time.
Sure.
And I know some of us take speed limits as suggestions. Don't get me wrong. That's why we have police, correct? But no matter what you do, people are going to drive the way they drive,
right.
To your point.
Right. Whether it's 30, 25,
Exactly.
they're still going to drive how they want to drive.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said earlier, there's ways we can look at, different types of traffic calming stuff. But for right now, we're kind of going with what the design posted speed is, unless we've given direction from the governing body. It's kind of how we attack these designs in.
Thank you, Jason. And with that, I'm gonna wrap it up so you guys can mingle here. For those that came in and didn't sign in, you guys can stay here as long as you can, okay? All I'm saying is before you leave, please make sure you sign in the sign-in sheet. You also saw some happy faces, frowning faces, and neutral faces. Let us know how you felt about this meeting. Put it in the location of where you leave at. If you came happy and you're leaving unhappy, let us know. And then also, again, don't forget your homework. It's due by August 13th. We need your feedback. We need you to organize your options in preference, okay? The ones at the top are the best, the bottoms are the ones that you don't like the most, okay? If you don't want to take it online, we have paper survey, and then just drop it at the box or mail it out to me or email it. One last thing I want to make everybody aware. I already had a planned vacation. I'm leaving on Friday. So it's not like, oh my gosh, she had this meeting and now she's disappearing. It was already planned. Okay. You will have an out of office response if you email me or if you call me with questions. Jason will be the backup for my projects, and he will say in my email and in my voicemail, I'm not disappearing into thin air. Okay. I'm coming back in 7 days. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Thank you.